welcome to the Beyond the Ears podcast, a podcast about all things Disney.
Episode 2. So today we're going to be talking about what's coming to Walt Disney World in 2022. New rides, new attractions. There's a few things that they've got planned, set to release this year. So we're going to talk about that first, and then later on in the podcast, we're going to talk about the things that we would like to see in Walt Disney World if we're dreaming. Some things that we would like to see. So we're going to start off by talking about the new Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride, which is in Epcot. Technically, it opens on May 27th, so this coming Friday. But they have been previewing the ride so far. It replaced Ellen's Energy Adventure in the, I believe it was called the Energy Pavilion, but now it's going to be called the Wonders of Xandar Pavilion. So they're completely retheming it to Guardians of the Galaxy. So technically, this is Epcot's very first actual roller coaster. And it's an indoor roller coaster, which is really exciting. It's a family coaster. So if you have children that are over 42 inches, they will technically be able to ride this ride. It is a very modern technology coaster, so the ride vehicles themselves spin, but it's not independently of the coaster. So it's all planned. Do you want to talk a little bit about the motions? You know a little bit more about like the technical stuff.
What do you mean?
Like the ride vehicles are moving in accordance with like the projections in the ride rather than just like independently with gravity. I guess that explains it well enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is going to be a very Ashley forward podcast because she is more of the Disney nut compared to me. I'm kind of going into this with like a watch of the like a review of the ride, and that's about it. So
okay.
This is going to be a very Ashley podcast forward.
So obviously there's only so much that we can learn from watching a ride through of the ride, but just from watching the ride through, it looks like a really good mixture between Space Mountain and Rock and Roller Coaster in Hollywood Studios. So like Rock and Roller Coaster, it plays music the whole ride, which I love a Rock and Roller Coaster. I love how they play music. It just is such a chill but thrilling roller coaster. So you do not get to choose the song. It kind of does a mix, but the songs that are included are September, Disco Inferno, Conga, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, I Ran, and One Way or Another. So retro vibes, of course, for Guardians of the Galaxy. We saw from the ride through that, like we mentioned before, it is a coaster ride, but you do kind of start off the ride by shooting off backwards. From the reviews so far from the people that have gotten to ride it, there have been quite a few reports of motion sickness, even if you don't typically experience motion sickness. So just kind of go into it with that in mind and maybe be prepared with a motion sickness band or some medicine. I don't know the name of that stuff that helps with motion sickness, but I know that it does exist. So just maybe have that with you just in case, because it's no fun to feel nauseous, especially at Disney World. What else? So there's really no animatronics at all.
Yeah, it's all projections.
It's 100% all projections, which we're fine with. I don't know if anyone else has a problem with that, but we personally don't care. We just enjoy.
Well, and it's the Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's our first Marvel ride at Disney World because of the whole law issue with Universal owning all the Disney rights to like amusement parks. So it's interesting. So it'll be nice to actually have something Marvel at the Disney parks.
Yeah, in that area over there is room for expansion because it used to be a really large pavilion, and it's just kind of been a barren wasteland for a while. So I'm sure that there are going to be more things that are coming to that area. Epcot, the past decade, has really undergone a lot of refurbs and just re-themes of rides. So we saw Frozen, which used to be Maelstrom. So that was
which
huge.
We loved.
Oh my God, that was such an amazing ride. That was a huge re-theme. We saw Ratatouille added to the World Showcase. So lots of new refurbs coming at Epcot in the next few years. But we have seen that in the last decade as well. So back to the ride. It looked to be about like a 3-minute ride. So it's a good length for how long I'm assuming you're going to have to wait. Because it is a new attraction. The wait times are going to probably be very, very long. And I would assume that it is going to be one of those top tier attractions where you have to pay for the lightning lane. And then I don't know if it's called the Express Pass or what. I haven't done a ton of research on all of that stuff. But the lightning lane, I believe, is where you pay $15 per person per day to get a certain number of fast passes. And then there are certain basically top priority rides that are very popular where you have to pay an additional fee to get a fast pass essentially for those rides. So I would assume this would be included for Epcot.
Just another way to ream the customer at Disney.
Disney has become very, very expensive. The reception of the Genie Plus and the Lightning Lane has not been very good, so maybe they will update it by the next time we're able to go to Disney. So
in 10 years.
In 10 years when we can afford it. All right, moving on to Magic Kingdom. So Magic Kingdom is getting a brand new ride, Tron Light Cycle Run. The name might eventually be slightly different than that, but for now, that is the name that they're going with. So this is basically a clone of the exact ride in Shanghai Disney. So exactly the same format, same layout. They just picked it up from Shanghai Disney and dropped it essentially in the Magic Kingdom. So it's going to be located in Tomorrowland, of course, right behind Space Mountain. That particular area is probably going to lead to a lot of really tight clusters of people, a lot of congestion. So we'll see how that goes. I'm sure Disney is well aware that it's going to be a very congested area, and I'm sure they have plans in place to kind of minimize that. But from right now, it does look like it will be heavily congested.
That's another place, too, when we went, that it was like super... It definitely needed like a refurb there, yeah. I think. Because it's very dated.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, there are just always so many possibilities. And Walt's original dream was that, especially for Tomorrowland and Epcot, that it was going to be ever-changing, ever-evolving, never going to be a complete project. Because he wanted it to basically evolve and grow and change with the times and with technology. So I'm really excited to see the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Epcot because I think that's a huge technological advancement. It's going to be a huge deal for Disney. And then with Tron, definitely brings more futuristic theming to the Tomorrowland area. So I think it's going to be really awesome. It is a semi-enclosed launched steel motorbike roller coaster. So basically that means that part of the ride is going to be inside and then part of the ride is going to be outside. It's a steel roller coaster, and the ride vehicle is kind of similar to Flight of Passage, where you're basically kind of straddling basically like a motorcycle. Obviously, it's not a real motorcycle, but that's kind of the most similar way to describe it. Unfortunately, they announced the ride and the construction right around the same time that COVID hit. So the construction has taken a really, really, really long time. But the past few weeks, it has really picked up, and we've actually started to see a lot more progress with this ride. So we don't have technically a release date or an open date yet, but they are doing actual tests with the roller coaster itself. I think a lot of the construction that needs to be done is just revolving probably the queue area and making the ride areas just like more themed. So the ride itself, the coaster itself, it looks like it's done. They're already running tests on that. So if it does open this year, it will be late this year, fall this year, probably September, October. But there is a chance that it won't open this year, and they're going to wait till spring of 23. So we're just going to wait and see. Of course, we can't predict the future, but it is good news that Disney is already running tests on the attraction. So the last ride that we're going to talk about today, there's really not a lot of new attractions coming in 2022. Okay. I don't know if that has to do with COVID. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things happening right now. They're trying to just go back to a state of normalcy where they don't have to follow all of these guidelines and restrictions for people to get to the parks. So, and COVID cost them a lot of money. They lost a lot of money with that. So, and Bob Chapek, their current CEO, is really in that position to essentially save the company a lot of money. Whereas Bob Iger, which was the CEO previously, was more of a dreamer, more of a visionary, and he spent a lot of money on the parks and doing refurbs and creating new lands and creating new attractions. So with Chapek, we're not going to see that quite as much, or we haven't seen that quite as much with him. But we do have some other things that have been announced. So, for example, the Splash Mountain in Magic Kingdom, the retheming. So, Splash Mountain is, I believe, an original ride to Magic Kingdom, and it's currently themed to Song of the South. And they're going to be doing a retheme to Princess and the Frog. So, that retheme was announced a couple of years ago, and we have not yet seen a ton of information being released to really tell us when that is going to be happening. But we're kind of assuming construction is probably going to be starting in late 2022 or early 2023. I personally am excited for that refurb. What do you think?
Is that the ride that we use the GoPro on? Mm-hmm. It is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a fun ride. But I would be definitely interested in seeing what they do with, is it The Princess and the Frog?
Yeah.
Which I've never seen that movie, so.
That's one of the very few movies that I haven't seen.
Yeah, so we'll have to watch it, and then maybe we'll have like a more clear idea of what the ride might look like, so it'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean, anytime they do a retheme, it is sad because you're taking away part of history. But
and memories and nostalgia.
Yeah, memories for people who rode that ride 20 years ago. It's just it is the nostalgia factor, but I do think that this refurb is going to be for the better. I think the ride is really dark and kind of dingy. People are gonna hate on me for saying that, but it definitely needs a refurb. So I'm hoping they'll bring a lot of really cool animatronics to the ride, maybe a little bit different lighting. I don't know. We'll see. But that is coming here in the next couple of years. Okay, so a couple of other things I wanted to talk about that aren't in Disney World in Orlando, but are still in Disney. I just wanted to throw these in here because I'm excited about them. So the first one is in Shanghai Disney. They are doing a Zootopia themed land as well as a Zootopia ride, which we'll talk about Zootopia more in a minute with Animal Kingdom. I just wanted to throw that out there because I didn't know that until today when I was trying to do a little bit of research. So I thought that was extremely exciting. Disney just has a way of knowing what people want and giving us what we want. So I thought that was really cool. And then in Disneyland Paris, they are doing an Arendelle Frozen themed land with a fully immersive experience. They're going to have a restaurant there. We don't know yet if there's going to be any rides or attractions, but I could assume that there will be. So once again, Disney basically knowing what people love and giving it to us. So
well, and they're over there. They're closer to Norway, which is obviously like they're pulling off that, like, oh, we're closer here, so you can be more immersed into that like at a closer distance to travel.
Yeah.
Instead of going all the way to like Florida if you live in overseas or anything.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely jealous of Shanghai Disney and Disneyland Paris. There's something so magical about Disney being that all of the parks are different, but it is hard if you live in the United States or on this side of the world to get to Paris or to get to Shanghai. It's just more realistic to be able to go to California or Orlando, and being able to actually physically get to and travel to those areas. So good for them. It's really exciting. We don't have a lot of information there yet. I'm hoping that at some point they'll kind of do something like that in Orlando. So that's going to bring us to the next part of the podcast where we talk about what we would like to see come to the parks in the next decade is a realistic ask.
Yeah. So do you want to go park by park, or are you wanting to go like just do a couple, like what are you wanting to do?
Yeah, we can definitely go park by park. Do you want to start with
We'll start with our favorite, Animal Kingdom.
You like Animal Kingdom? See, that's up for discussion, is the favorite. But we can start with Animal Kingdom for sure.
Okay, so my thought for Animal Kingdom is the kids area that is all dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. I think that should be the new Zootopia area for Disney World.
100% agree.
Because, I mean, it's a dated area. Mm-hmm. The roller coaster ride, or the dinosaur ride, isn't that fun, and it's very dated. In a bad way. I mean, it was the first time I'd ever been, so I enjoyed it for like what it was. But at the same time, I was like, man, this is an old freaking ride.
Yeah.
But that whole area could just use a refresh for sure.
Absolutely. So that dinosaur ride was a family favorite for my family when we went to the parks. And then when I went back with Josh, I was like, oh, like it was still really fun, but like the movie is really outdated. It's just outdated. And so they've actually taken down the Primeval Whirl, which was the spinning coaster in that dinosaur area. So there's really not much left in that whole area of the park. I think it just needs to be gutted and then rethemed to Zootopia, which the possibilities of that are insane. Yeah. They literally, I mean, they would have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars probably to do it right.
Yeah.
But they could literally do, what is it, the 4 climate areas: Tundra Town, Sahara Square, Rainforest District,
and then like the main Zootopia proper.
Yeah,
I think, which is like the main like city central.
Yeah. I mean, that would be killer.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie just left it wide open for like the perfect attraction in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Like, it doesn't get more perfectly fit than Zootopia in Animal Kingdom. So I think that, I mean, we've always kind of discussed the Zootopia thing, and then when I was researching today, I saw that they're actually doing Zootopia in Shanghai Disney, which means obviously they know what the people want.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? But I think if they, I mean, of course, they just added Pandora recently to Animal Kingdom, which brought a whole lot of interest to that park more than it had before, and it's already a huge park. But oh my gosh, that'd be so cool.
So with the ride, do you think they would completely gut the ride and redo the ride, or would they kind of do a like same ride but like rebrand it a little bit? Because here's my thing: if they kept the same ride that's there, but they added projection and did a couple other things, I think it'd be really fun to be like the mice in that world, and you're traveling around and like you getting shaken around because it's all the like the bigger animals like walking and stuff.
Okay.
And like you kind of like shenanigans of like running around through that, and you're like following a character, whatever.
Yeah.
Or if they completely like redid the ride, you just kind of travel through the different cities, or like it's like a crime, like a almost like a quick investigation kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be cool to also incorporate the what's the Soaring Ride? How you go through the like the smell-o-vision. And I think it'd be cool to like add that to that
for
ride.
Sure.
So if you're going through the Sahara area, you smell like dirt, kind of sandy air, and then you feel like the heat or whatever. So I think that'd be super cool to do it like that.
I am telling you what, there are endless possibilities with that.
Yeah.
But I think if it happens and we still have Bob Chapek as the CEO, I feel like they would just retheme and not redo the ride. Even though it would obviously be better if they gutted it and redid it, because the technology that we have now is just much better, obviously, than the technology they had at the time. So with that, you would get a lot better of a ride, honestly.
Yeah, the technology that they're using for the Guardians of the Galaxy ride is insane. Like all the projection screens and just the practical effects that they have for it. Just from what we saw through the ride through, it looked like absolutely insane. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not 1990 anymore, and that's what, when you go to the dinosaur area, that's really what it feels like. It's like very 90s, like early 2000s feel.
It's definitely been neglected over there. Obviously, they've been spending money elsewhere, but I think they will eventually do something, because I've heard other people talk about it. I think they'll eventually do something. We just don't have anything announced yet that I know of.
Yeah. Or know what it could be, because it could be something completely different too.
It could be.
Which I don't know what it would be, but I mean,
I think my head is just so set on Zootopia that I can't picture anything else for Animal Kingdom. Anything else at Animal Kingdom, I think that would be like the thing. Like the easiest opportunity for them to change something, because nobody really cares that much. I mean, there are diehard dinosaur ride fans. Yeah. Because it's the nostalgia.
Well, and we get that with every time they do like a new ride, it's the same thing. Yeah. So everyone's whining or complaining, and like I get it, but at the same time, like come on, we gotta have some new rides. Like the whenever they first started the Ellen ride to take it apart, there were so many people, because we were there. Whenever I think it was like the last time that in 2018 was the last time they shut it before they shut it down, or?
Yeah, so the ride closed in August of 2017, but I don't think they started construction, at least externally, for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that ride, I loved it, but it was definitely outdated. It just was. The technology wasn't great. The storyline was dated. I mean, all of it was dated. And with that dinosaur area in Animal Kingdom, same way. And I don't think anyone would care about anything else in that area. I mean, there's really not much else there. So
yeah, and they're not going to redo the Avatar Land just because that's amazing, absolutely amazing over there.
Yeah. All right. So which park do you want to talk about next?
Hollywood Studios.
Hollywood Studios. Okay.
See, this is where I kind of go back and forth with the Cosmic Rewind being at Epcot.
Yeah.
Is because I feel like Guardians should be more of a Hollywood Studios thing. Okay. Second note, Tower of Terror should be the Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
I disagree because I like the way that they try to keep so the rides that they have two of, basically one at Disneyland and one at Disney World, I like that they try to keep one more original. So it draws you to go to Disneyland to try that one, and then there are going to be things that draw people to Disney World to come try it. But I like the Twilight Zone. It's like super creepy.
I just wasn't a fan of the ride.
Yeah, I now that I'm a little bit older, I don't really enjoy the whole drop ride situation. Yeah. I love roller coasters all day, but the dropping kind of thing, like I don't even know if we went just you and I, if we would ride that.
Yeah, I don't think we would.
We would probably ride rock and roller coaster.
We did last time because I had never been. Yeah. And it was like, oh, that was kind of fun, but at the same time, you were like, I was literally out of my seatbelt when we rode that. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I think it should be the Guardians of the Galaxy ride or rebranded to something else. Okay. But I don't like the Twilight.
We can agree to disagree on some things. That's fine. Hollywood Studios. The only thing, okay, I'm going to totally just contradict what I just said about them trying to keep it different at Disneyland and Disney World. But the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular in Hollywood Studios in Disney World is a stunt show. And it's good. It's really good. But the version of it in Disneyland is a ride. And I would much prefer a ride.
Interesting.
That's just me as a person, though. Like, I would much prefer a ride over a show basically all of the time.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to watch the show last time because of the lightning.
Yeah. So. It is a really good show. Like, if you're going to sit down and make me watch a show at Disney World, that's going to be one of them. And then The Lion King at Animal Kingdom.
And the ants in the big tree.
Yes, but that's that's interactive. It's not like sitting outside in a amphitheater watching a show.
I remember The Lion King. Okay, yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, that was an indoor.
Yeah, it was like a play. Mm-hmm.
But it was really cool. Anyway, so if I could choose that, I would say to make that a ride because Hollywood Studios doesn't really have a ton of rides. I mean, I know they just opened the Star Wars area, which is huge, Black Spire Outpost, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But there's not a ton of attractions aside from
Toy Story Land.
Oh my God, I forget about that every time. In my brain, I just feel like that's a separate entity. Yeah. I don't know why. I think it's because
last time we went, we didn't go to that area that much because we were only there for the Toy Story ride that you like.
The Toy Story Midway Mania, we got a ride.
Yeah, but that was the only time we were over in that area.
Yeah, we didn't get a ride Slinky Dog because the line was crazy. And then when I went previously with my sister and then previously with my family, that area did not exist. It was literally just Toy Story Midway Mania, which we loved.
Yeah, it was fun.
But
yeah, we've never, like, we'll have to go back to that, especially now because Grayson is obsessed with Buzz Lightyear.
Oh yeah, we love Toy Story. He would freak
Yeah.
out walking in to the entrance with all of the characters supersized, and the ride, the Midway Mania ride. He would just have a blast.
Yeah, for sure.
But yes, going back to what I would hope they would change was the Indiana Jones thing. I think it would be a really cool ride.
Yeah. Or completely do a different show. Could be a Marvel show. Or something like that. I just wish the whole Mississippi, whatever the lawsuit, where Universal had all the rights to the Marvel characters, or these main Marvel characters, really sucks for Disney now, since Disney actually owns Marvel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it does. I like the fact that it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Well, I guess they're getting ready to do a new movie, so it might become more relevant.
Yeah.
When the movie comes out.
Yeah. What else in Hollywood studios? Anything?
I enjoy Rock and Roller Coaster. I think that was my favorite ride the last time we went.
Yeah.
Other than the Avatar Flight of Passage ride, that was amazing.
And I feel like it's aged really well with Aerosmith.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the beginning part before you're actually like in the ride, the part of the queue where they're like talking, obviously the band is younger.
Yeah. And
so they could probably update that.
Yeah.
But the ride itself has aged really well.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah.
And it kind of it's almost like I don't even know how to explain it. It gives you nostalgia feels, but it feels like new at the same time. So that's one I wouldn't change. I can't honestly remember what else was in the park, because the last time we were there, they were working. I mean, half the park was closed because the Star Wars ride, or the Star Wars area was being built.
Yeah, so they still have that Star Wars ride over there. I can't remember what it's called.
Star Tours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a fun ride, but I got motion sick on that one.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to Epcot.
Epcot, okay.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so
it's going to take me a minute to like rehash like what all was there.
Yeah, so it's hard because Epcot is huge already. Like, especially if you're going around the World Showcase, it's so much to see. Like, you could literally spend an entire day just walking the World Showcase and just going through all of the shops, trying the restaurants. There are several attractions. I guess not several, a couple of attractions in the World Showcase part. But what I would like to see, I would like to see them refurb the Spaceship Earth. Sorry, Mission Space always pops in my head whenever I'm trying to think of Spaceship Earth. But Spaceship Earth is the signature Epcot ball, and there's a ride in there, of course. I think that they should update it and then kind of fill in the holes. So there's a couple of areas where there's basically nothing going on, and it would be easy just to fill that. And then I would like to see a couple more attractions in the World Showcase. I think that they should update the Three Caballeros.
Yep, to Coco.
To Coco.
For sure. But that whole Three Caballeros area is like the Hispanic theme anyway. So like
it's the Mexico Pavilion.
Yeah. So I think that Coco would go great right there.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think that this is another time where I'm going to assume Disney knows what the people want. And I think they know the people want either another country or more rides and attractions in the World Showcase. So
would that be the place where you would want like a Moana or like a Lilo and Stitch theme ride, or I guess like a Pacific Ocean kind of ride, or would you want it more in like the Magic Kingdom?
It's so hard because Disney is so big. They really need to do another park. Honestly. because all of these new, like how at Disneyland they have Pixar Pier. They could literally just do Pixar Park and it be all Pixar themed.
Oh, that would be really cool. Pixar Park. That would be awesome.
Yeah, Pixar Park. So that's not Moana, but Moana's not Pixar. It's just Disney. But
it's just Disney.
There are so many fantastic movies that are Pixar. But then, of course, they've already done Toy Story Land. So they're getting too big for their britches. Honestly, they just need another park. But I don't know that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if I think about Moana, like in my mind, it just goes better with Animal Kingdom, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Interesting.
Okay, so what else in Epcot, if anything, can you think of?
Is the Nemo ride at Epcot?
It is.
I think they need to update that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Dory came out here recently, or not recently, I say recently, but that was like 4 years ago now. I don't know, that's just one ride that I think could use a little update. It could be anything. That could be the Moana ride.
No, I disagree. So
Disney shill.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because you can't update the entire park every 5 years. You just can't. It's too expensive. They still have to make money. And I think Finding Nemo is so old. It's still relevant. And it's more, so they're going to sink more money into adult attractions than children's attractions, just because kids are amazed by anything. Which, I mean, we are too, but they're just going to spend more money on like the big money makers. But moving on, Magic Kingdom. What do you think?
Oh, man. Is Mission Space there?
Mission Space is in Epcot.
Oh, well, burn that ride to the ground. I hate that freaking ride. I got so motion sick on that ride, I could not do it. Is that the one where we went to Mars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, piss on that ride. I did not like it.
You could have rode the baby version without the spinning. They have two versions of the ride.
Yeah, I know.
Specifically for people like you.
You were like, we're doing Mars, you dork. I'm like, I don't want to die and get sick.
I still love that ride.
Blow it up. We don't want it no more. Or rebrand it.
Okay. Magic Kingdom. What do you think? They have undergone a lot of refurbs.
I can't even think about Magic Kingdom.
So they just recently added, well, obviously we talked about Tron today. They're going to be adding Tron.
That's where the Seven Dwarfs are.
The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. They closed the Monsters. No, I think they closed the Monsters Inc. laugh floor. It might be reopened. But they closed a ride called Stitch's Great Escape, and that's going to probably be a new attraction.
Moana's Great Escape.
Could be. We'll see. And then they just added the Beauty and the Beast castle and Ariel's castle over there in that whole new area, which is beautiful. So that they've already kind of done a lot with that.
Was the Beauty and the Beast's castle already there?
No.
Then where did we eat breakfast?
Be our guest.
Oh,
it was
castle.
It was pretty new when we went.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't remember what year it opened, but
oh, okay.
Yeah, that wasn't there before, I don't think.
Oh.
I think part of it was, but they obviously had to redo it because they wanted to retheme it and then add the restaurant.
Funny story with that. When the first time we went there, we were eating breakfast, and then we got asked politely for everyone in the whole place to get up and leave because there was a fire in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So we got our food, or we ate like half of our food.
You had completely finished your plate, and I was like halfway done. And then we had to wait outside. It was pretty cool, actually. Like, we had to go out a back exit.
Yeah.
And then We had to wait outside, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe?
Yeah, it was like 20 or 30 minutes for
People
sure.
people were whining and being super obnoxious, of course. But Disney had their shit together.
Yeah.
Like they handled it so well. I don't know how, but when we went back in,
They had our
food was on the table.
yeah, where we were sitting, exactly knew where we were. It was crazy.
Yeah, they
and
knew.
what we had.
Yep. So the same food that we had ordered was fresh
Back on the table.
back on the table. So
I got a second helping.
you got a full second meal for free. But anyway, they handled that situation very well.
Yeah,
we were impressed.
Something cool.
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom. What else? So that's where the Jungle Cruise ride is, correct?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you can update it after the movie unless you update it to look more like the movie, I guess.
That's so tough.
You really couldn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty, not plain, but it's like, it kind of, I mean, it's the movie's based off it, so
yeah.
I don't think you can change it a whole lot.
No, they could make it slightly more thrilling with like maybe a small drop or two in there. I love that. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing, but I don't think that's ever going to happen because it's such a classic.
Yeah. What else? I know there's like it's a Small World. I hate that ride.
Yeah.
But that won't ever get changed because it's like an original.
Yeah.
A ride, and so is like the Peter's Pan flight, which was pretty fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's historically has a huge wait time, but it is a fun ride.
Yeah. And
it's definitely a very kid-friendly ride, like pretty magical for a young child to be able to ride that.
Yeah.
I think so. Over right across from where the Peter Pan flight of what is it called? Peter Pan's flight.
Yeah.
Right across from there, they have the Tangled themed like kind of bathroom area, I believe. And they've got like her tower, but it's scaled down really small, and it's like makes me just really want like an actual like Tangled area. Like even if we could just get like a restaurant over there, that was like
or a bar.
Yeah, something like that. That would be cool. But I love Tangled so much. It's a shame that there's really not a lot going on there with it. But the park is
so congested.
It's actually, I believe it's technically the smallest park. I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's the smallest park, but
it's definitely congested.
It's really congested, and the way they've kind of added onto things are kind of weird. Like they just need to blow out some trees, knock over some trees, and like add a whole nother area if that's what they want to do. Or like I said earlier, create a whole nother park, which
would be how many parks?
5. So there's 4 right now, but they're if they did another one, it would be 5.
Well, what would you even make that though?
Pixar Park.
Oh, that's what you would do?
Well, that would be one of my options. I mean, I didn't really think about that before, but I mean, there are so many directions that they could go in, but also at the same time, there's representation of all of these things within other rides and attractions at the parks already. So, like if they did Pixar Park, you already have Toy Story Land, which is a whole land, and Toy Story is Pixar. Which, I mean, who cares really? But at the same time, that could kind of prevent them from doing Pixar Park. But if you wanted to do...
Or they move Toy Story Land to Pixar Park.
Too much money for no reason. Because they're still, like, they needed, the reason they put it there was to get more people to Hollywood Studios. And that's a different crowd than is coming for Star Wars. So they needed people from different, I guess.
Age groups.
Yeah, all of these different things to come to Hollywood Studios.
I gotcha.
I don't know. I mean, possibilities are endless, really. I mean, they could do, like, a Princess's Park. But again, they already have like a Little Mermaid ride. They've got all these princess themed things. in Magic Kingdom and whatnot. So I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit more.
Interesting.
But it would be cool. I don't think it's going to happen under Bob Chapek.
No.
He doesn't want to spend the money on it.
Yeah, and there's just been so much resistance with him as a whole. It's just, he's just not a good fit to run the company, I don't think.
Yeah, no.
Compared to Bob Iger, because he was such a visionary.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if they did open another park, it would justify the cost of the hotels being as expensive as they are right now. Because I was dreaming, as I do sometimes, and looking up and pricing vacation packages for us to go to Disney World. And it would be about $4,000 for Josh, Grayson, and myself to go for 5 or 6 days, stay in a value resort and get park tickets, and that does not even include food. So the cost of the hotel every night was $300 versus back when you booked it in 2018, I think we paid something like $150 a night.
Yeah.
For value resorts, which is what it should be. So it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, anything else with, I guess we got all the parks.
Yeah. We definitely focused a lot more on what we would like to see out of the parks, but that's okay.
What about Disney Springs? Is that considered a park, or is that just an area?
No, it's not considered a park. I don't know what it's called. It's just like a shopping area.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mall, an outdoor mall.
See, I remember it, but I couldn't remember if there was rides over there or if there were a couple rides, either way, that could be like an area where if they wanted to add something, they could add something over there. You know what I mean?
They could. But anyway, this episode kind of got away from us from the topic we were supposed to talk about, but there's not a lot of new rides and attractions coming specifically to Walt Disney World. They are doing other things, of course, with Shanghai Disney and Tokyo Disney and Disneyland Paris and Disneyland in California. There are obviously new things happening at all of the places, but today we just wanted to talk specifically about Disney World.
Yeah.
So I was excited to talk about Disney.
Yeah.
Instead of, last time we talked about Marvel, which is awesome, of course, but it's nice to get our Disney episode in there.
Yeah, like I said, this was definitely going to be a very Ashley heavy podcast, yeah. Which is fine because she's got the better speaking voice to the podcast than I do, so she's more intriguing.
I don't know. So that's really going to wrap it up for the episode today. We really appreciate everybody who is listening so far and following the podcast. If you enjoy it, make sure to give us a rating on Spotify. That's probably where you're listening right now. As we mentioned before, we are going to hopefully get on other streaming platforms soon. Share the podcast with your friends. It really helps us out. And in the meantime, we will see you in the next one.